At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By GMC. See the pros at your local GMC dealer. GMC, we are professional grade. By MTA Bridges and Tunnels, cashless tolling is here. Get Easy Pass today to save up to 50% on tolls. And by Budweiser, always on deck. This Bud's for you. Could you ask for a more perfect Sunday? Look at the gleaming Statue of Liberty, the beautiful harbor, Ellis Island, sailboats, New York on Sunday. Big city taking a nap. This weekend, the Marlins are in town for 3 games. Friday night, a little rain delay, and the Mets still suffering from their Yankee hangover. JT Realmuto put a charge into a hanging curveball from Chris Flexen to give the Marlins the early lead. The Mets lacked response. They were held to just 1 run, and just before midnight fell to the Marlins 3-1. Different story last night. The resurgent Rafael Montero on the mound for the Mets, and he looked great, and he had plenty of help from his infield. The Mets came into this series last in the National League in turning double plays. Well, they made up for that last night. They tied a franchise record by turning 5 double plays, 4 of them in consecutive innings behind Montero, and that helped Montero through 6 terrific innings, only 1 run allowed. Then the Mets came alive in the 6th inning, got help from a couple of errors, and then Wilmer Flores unloaded a 2-run homer. Kevin Plawecki, just back from the minor leagues, ended his first home run of the year. The Mets put up a 7 spot in that 7th inning. Later, Dominic Smith hit a home run as well, and the Mets have themselves an 8-1 victory and a split in the first 2 games of this series. Now, we came into this series talking about how the Mets were going to deal with Giancarlo Stanton. Hi, I'm Gary. This is Keith. And the Mets are playing the Marlins today. Giancarlo Stanton so far in this series doesn't have a hit, but he's been on base plenty.
Well, they've walked him 5 times. I remember we noticed that he's closed his stance in the second half of the season. It's made all the difference in the world. He's having an awesome second half as well as a terrific August. But Stanton was always a guy you can pitch to. You can throw him up and in. He'll swing at a pitch a foot inside and chase a bad breaking ball. With his closed stance now, he looks like a hitter, and it's the best I've ever seen. He's taking his walks. Remember, I would tell him if I was a hitting coach that Babe Ruth walked a lot, and he had Lou Gehrig hitting behind him. So Stanton, to me, if he keeps it going here, the sky's the limit.
And the task of holding Stanton down today goes to the Mets ace Jacob deGrom, who goes for his 14th win of the year.
Well, Jacob here is a 12th start against the Marlins, 4-3 lifetime, coming off a real tough, grinding start in Yankee Stadium where he suffered the loss.
Adam Conley had a real good season last year for the Marlins. Not this year. He got sent to the minors for 2.5 months, but he's pitched well against the Mets.
He has pitched well against the Mets. This will be his 4th appearance and 3rd start. He's 1-1 against the Metsies. He had a terrific July, but so far in August, he's been having a tough time.
So it's the Mets and the Marlins. Rubber game of the 3-game series on a perfect Sunday afternoon. Come on back. All the action coming your way today on SNY. hosted their 13th annual Taiwan Heritage Day at Citi Field, featuring traditional performances and giveaways. For more information, search taiwan.net.tw. Limited baseball break brought to you by T-Mobile. Last night, Paul DeJong hit his 20th home run, but the Cardinals lost in Pittsburgh. St. Louis now 2.5 back in the NL Central. Mike Trout, 2 home runs, and the Angels stay in the tie for the second wild card spot in the American League if they beat Baltimore. Jay Bruce continues hot for the first place Indians. Giancarlo Stanton and the Marlins finishing up their series against the Mets at Citi Field. Jacob deGrom, Sunshine Superman, he'll be on the mound. His first pitch is coming right up. In a year of injury and disappointment, he has been the shining light for the Mets pitching staff. Jacob deGrom, 13-6, 3.35 ERA, and going for his 14th win today. And he takes on a Marlins team that sports this lineup, brought to you by Hyundai. Giancarlo Stanton continues in the 2-hole. He's walked 5 times in the first 2 games of this series, but looking for his first hit. And everything else pretty much the same for Don Mattingly's crew as they take on deGrom for the second time this year. First time deGrom faced the Marlins this year as the door is open in front of the bullpen.
Come on, Marlin, bullpen, let's go, wake up.
First time he faced the Marlins this year, he struck out 13, left with the lead after 7 innings, but the bullpen blew the game for him. And he will go back up against the Marlins for the second time this year. He's 4-3 lifetime against them.
Jeez, what were the Marlin pitchers doing out there? The bullpen.
I don't think there's anybody out there.
Oh, there is.
That's why Conforto had to go tell them to close the door.
Jeez.
D. Gordon leads off, 1 for 8 in the series. And deGrom gets the day started with a fastball for a called strike, and we're underway.
Well, deGrom has pitched well enough to win. He's on a streak right now. He's lost 3 out of his last 4, but he's the ace of this ball club.
Lined into right center, a base hit for Gordon to start the day. So D. Gordon has his second hit of the series and his 141st of the year.
You have got to pitch Gordon inside. You've got to crowd him. Like all good hitters, and he's a batting champ, you've got to pound him in.
So the Marlins get their base stealer aboard, 41 steals, including 1 in this series. Second in the National League behind Billy Hamilton. And Stanton steps in with a man on. DeGrom has had trouble with Stanton. 7 for 18, 3 home runs in his career against Jake.
And there's the closed stance, the new stance of Stanton.
And a fastball strike to start him off.
He just looks like a different hitter. He looks very threatening up there to me now.
Leading home run hitter in the major leagues with 44. Gordon getting a healthy lead off first and dancing and extending his lead and taking off. And no chance for d'Arnaud. Just an enormous jump by Gordon, who just kept extending the lead, daring DeGrom, who never looked at him. And Gordon has his 42nd steal of the year.
Oh, there's a little adjustment there on the head first slide. A lot of times, folks, I know it's kind of, you know, miscellaneous information. When you slide head first, a lot of dirt can get down under your pants there. It can be a little tough. And just, that's why I always tried to slide feet first, Gary.
Well, that's how that famous scene with Steve Lyons developed.
Right.
After
right.
head first slide.
Right. Well, it makes sense because the dirt can get underneath your pants. I mean, you're sliding. Look at Stanton go the other way to advance the runner. That's pretty. Okay.
Tom Smith makes the play on Stanton for the first out of the game. Gordon over to third with 1 out.
I wouldn't want him doing that. Not with his 44 home runs.
I don't think he was intending to do that. Do you?
I don't. And also, I'm not a lot of things in sabermetrics I really like. But I know the numbers, they're saying that the guy in the 2-hole gets more chances to drive in runs. I can't put my arms around that. I can't put my arms around Stanton hitting second.
Infield back, runner at third, 1 out. Christian Yelich the batter, and takes the fastball high. Yelich 1 for 8 in this series, but he also has good lifetime numbers against DeGrom. 11 for 29, 379 clip.
Mets will concede the run. They got their ace out there in DeGrom, and the Marlins have a pitcher out there with an ERA over 5.
And Yelich pounds one into the ground, and it's 1-1. Can you put your finger on why you think Yelich has had such a tough year this year compared to last?
I'd have to see him every day, Garrett. You know, it's very difficult. We have not seen the Marlins since the early part of the year. I mean, this is the second time they've been into New York. So it's very hard, you know, not being there and visually seeing it every day.
I mean, based on what we've seen the last couple of years, it looked like he was starting to develop into one of the best young hitters in the league. But clearly, if you look at the numbers, he's taken a big step back this year.
I just would like to see him, I said it last night, he's very upright. I'd like to see him a little more set, a little more crouched.
DeGrom could use a strikeout with a runner at third and 1 out. And Yelich hits it sharply off the glove of a diving Flores. That'll bring in the first run of the game. Yelich with the infield hit as Gordon comes home, and the Marlins have an early 1-0 lead.
Well, the second ball that Wilmer has knocked down at third base in 2 games, 2 straight games. Did one last night diving down the line. This was a mistake by DeGrom. Wilmer prevents the double here. Ball kind of came up. No, the ball did not come up. He just didn't make the play, but he knocked it down, saved the double. That pitch was meant to be inside, folks, and DeGrom missed away.
So a run is in. Yelich at first, and here's Marcell Ozuna, who has bedeviled the Mets all season long, including in this series. In the series, he's 3 for 4 with 3 walks, For the year, he's hitting .415 against Met pitching with 4 home runs and 14 driven in the 15 games.
Well, I've always liked him. He is a swinger, very unbridled, but he's becoming more experienced and getting a little more disciplined up there.
He fouls off the fastball and it's 0-2. Rom's last start was against the Yankees Tuesday night in the Bronx. Gave up a couple of home runs to Ellsbury and Sanchez. Wound up giving up 5 runs in 7 1/3. Mets came back to make it closer. 5-4 loss. And DeGrom trying to bounce back from that. Starts the day 8th in the National League in ERA. Ahead 0-2, and Ozuna just got a piece of it. There's that last start against the Yankees. He only struck out 4, and that kept his pitch count down, which allowed him to pitch into the 8th inning.
It was a struggle for him. That last 5th run he gave up late, and that 8th inning was a deciding run. The Mets came back.
Oh, 2 to Ozuna. And he strokes one foul outside first.
Ozuna hit .279 his first full season with Miami in 2014 with 23 home runs and 85 RBIs. And next year he struggled, got sent down, came back, and last year he hit 23 home runs, and this year he's having his best year ever.
Well, last year he had the great first half,
right,
where he made the All-Star team, and then he had a terrible second half.
Right.
This year he's kept it up.
I felt that, Barry Bonds was the hitting coach for Miami, and he does carry gravitas with him. I think the one guy that I noticed that he had a positive influence on, or the most positive influence on, is this man right here, Ozuna.
Rom trying to put him away. Ozuna's fouled off 3 in a row after getting it to 2 strikes. Stanton and Yelich have hit ground balls to the other side. Big hole on the right side of the infield for Ozuna.
What is with the off-color sleeves here? Ozuna's got the canary yellow. I don't get it.
There goes Yelich. Better chance for d'Arnaud, but Yelich beats it. Second stolen base of the inning, and the 11th of the year for Yelich.
Another head first slide. d'Arnaud gets rid of it quick. It's a good throw. Nothing you can do there. Nothing wrong with that throw.
Cicchini keeping the tag on, hoping Yelich would come off the bag, but he did not.
That's a great shot right there, wasn't it? That's how you can mess up your fingers, folks.
So 2 stolen bases in this first inning for the Marlins. 1-2 to Ozuna with 1 out. And he flies 1 out to right center. Conforto under it. Yelich tagging. He'll go to third. Conforto's throw arrives far too late. Runner at third with 2 out.
Lexus defense of the Metsies. Lagares with the left-hander in center field. This is the Mets' best defensive outfield arrangement. And on the infield, Dominic Smith playing against the left-hander. I agree. And Cicchini getting his start. His first start, right? Since coming up. And d'Arnaud behind the plate.
So 3 rookies on the infield for the Mets today, with Smith, Cicchini, and Rosario. Here's JT Realmuto, who hit the 2-run homer on Friday night. His only hit in this series, 1 for 7. Another good year. His offensive numbers have improved every season. DeGrom out of the full windup with a runner at third, and he misses away for ball 1. everything away so far in this first inning. Saw Montero pitch so effectively last night, throwing in, moving hitters off the plate. And that fastball catches the outside corner, 2-1.
Pretty much playing Realmuto straight up. Lagares a little shade to the opposite field. I like the way Dominic Smith positions himself off the line.
20th pitch of this opening inning, and that's on the corner. Dotted nicely by DeGrom, and he gets even 2-2.
You see Dominic Smith right there giving that line. I would kind of move over a little bit with 2 strikes, because this is a hitter that kind of uses the whole field. Might be protecting the plate with 2 strikes, probably is, and but I like the ball down that line is going to be a double anyway. The more balls are hit in the hole than down the lines, particularly the opposite field line.
Yelich at third with 2 out. 3-2 coming to Realmuto, and he fouls back the fastball. Eric Dietrich hitting 6th in the order, waiting on deck.
It's a lot of gold around his neck.
Ron trying to put this inning to bed. Goes off speed, but Realmuto stays alive.
Barely got a piece of that one. That was a late sinking change. Making DeGrom work. DeGrom's been having some trouble. First inning, the hitters have been making him work hard.
Well, he's not striking people out right now the way he was earlier in the season. That was the case against the Yankees, and again so far today. And Realmuto down swinging. He kept everything away, and he strikes him out with the fastball just off the plate. First strikeout of the day for DeGrom. Marlins scratch out a run in the first thanks to the stolen base. D. Gordon, his 42nd stolen base. He comes around to score, and the Marlins lead 1-0. Beautiful Sunday afternoon on the lake in Central Park.
That's a pond.
A little rowing.
I love that little spot there in Central Park. It's very lovely.
Geico Mets starting lineup this afternoon. Juan Lagares at the top. Gavin Cecchini getting his first start since being recalled. Dominic Smith coming off his first Citi Field home run last night. And the Mets go up against Adam Conley, who has pitched very well against them.
Well, he came back and had 3 starts in July after he was sent down and pitched real well. And then August, he reverted back to his old self this year. He had a tough August. ERA is indicative of how he's pitched this year.
Lagares pops one up. And the third baseman Dietrich battling the sun as he makes the grab and foul ground for the first out.
And they heard Dietrich calling for that one all the way up here. Coors Light Marlin defense. Big trio right there, all with strong arms and all can hit. Rojas, whoa, what a night what an inning he had last night. 2 errors. Dietrich decided to join the fun. 3 errors in that inning. That 7-run inning the Mets had in the 6th. Realmuto behind the plate.
Here's Michael Conforto. Conforto 1 for 5 in this series. He has been struggling the last week.
He's been playing Michael with a shift. He's been a little bit on the pull. With some home runs the second half. And he's been starting to pull a little bit. I'd like to see him just get his sights into left center field. He's been struggling a tad. And when you struggle, you got to give up the power stroke. You got to get your stroke back together. Find your rhythm by going over the shortstop's head if you're a left-hand hitter, vice versa, right-hand hitter, going up the middle. Then when you get your groove back, then you can start that pitch that you can play with. It cuts the inner half of the outer half of the plate. You can either pull it or play it to the opposite field, whatever you want to do.
Well, during this rough patch, Conforto's numbers against lefties have come down significantly. He's hitting just .226 now against left-handers. Takes that one foul down the left side.
He's been coming under the ball a little bit. I don't know if that's, everybody wants to hit a fly ball today and home runs. I don't know if that's what they are working on in the batting cage.
And he goes down on the slider in the dirt. Picked up by Realmuto, and they get the put out for the second out.
It's a funny game, is it not, here?
Well, we've seen Conforto struggle before. The key is to minimize the down parts of your season. And, last year he was unable to get out of that funk for months at a time. He has not had that this year where he's struggled for more than a week or two.
And you can see his frustration there in the dugout.
Joanna Cespedes 1 for 7 in this series and 1 for 16 in his career against Conley. We mentioned that the Mets have struggled against Conley. He made his first start of the season against the Mets back in April, gave up only 1 hit, a Lucas Duda home run in 5 innings, and got a win. Then he matched up against DeGrom a week later and had a no decision, but pitched well again. Gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. In between, he took a loss in relief to the Mets in a 16-inning game. So he faced the Mets quite a bit early this season. But as Keith mentioned, he got sent down to AAA. He's made 12 starts for the New Orleans Baby Cakes.
Sweet, I like that.
The Baby Cakes, yeah, he 12 starts. He's 3-3, 3.49 down there. So he has not exactly lit the world on fire, either at the major or minor league level this year. But he seems to have had the Mets number. 2-1 lifetime with a 1.98 ERA.
That's over 8. This is his 9th appearance against the Mets, a 7th start career.
That's drilled to deep left field by Cespedes toward the wall, and it's out of here. Cespedes ties the game with his 16th home run of the year. So much for his 1 for 16 against Adam Conley, and Cespedes taking an especially slow trot around the bases.
High fastball. Bell tie all covered it nicely.
.16 home runs for Cespedes, only his 4th at Citi Field. Now Wilmer Flores pulls one foul. Flores homered last night in the midst of that 7-run 6th inning for the Mets. That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of Citi.
Well, I think he had a bead on this one, don't you think? It's not an overpowering pitcher, Conley.
Flores flies one into right center. Yelich and Stanton come together, and who's going to take it?
The taller guy.
The taller guy, yeah, exactly. Yelich was calling all the way, supposed to be the center fielder's ball, but no harm, no foul. Stanton makes the grab. Sorry, Christian. Big guy got it.
He's that hook and ladder truck.
1-1 after 1. Second inning in a 1-1 game. Derek Dietrich takes a strike from Jacob deGrom. Dietrich 2 for 6 in this series, getting all the reps at third base with Martin Prado on the sidelines with a knee injury.
Ooh.
Dietrich, then Tomas Delis and Miguel Rojas for the Marlins in the second. Miami still hoping to become a factor in the National League wildcard race as Dietrich takes a changeup for a strike.
They got to play a little better than they did last night.
Well, they had won 6 of 7 before last night to get within 7 games, and with Arizona losing, they stayed 7 games back of that second wild card. Looped foul down the left field side. Arizona will be here tomorrow to start a 4-game series. It's big for them. You know, the Diamondbacks started out the year 50-28 late June. Since then they're 17-27. And even though they're still in that second wild card spot, their margin is getting smaller.
Came back down to earth. How's Colorado's hung in there? I thought Colorado would be the team that would have folded with their young pitching.
Well, the Diamondbacks have had great starting pitching. Mets are going to miss Zach Greinke in that series, but even with that, Taijuan Walker, Patrick Corbin, Zach Godley have all pitched well, and Robbie Ray comes back from the disabled list to face the Mets Thursday. They've all had good years. Check swing. Dietrich went around, strike 3.
Big in. Nice.
Second strikeout for deGrom, 1 down in the second.
I got to wonder if this crew doesn't like Dietrich because they've called him out on some questionable calls in this series. Remember, he was moaning and groaning the 2 strikeouts in that first game, Gary.
By the way, the umpires are not wearing the white wristbands yesterday. Last night, 2 of the umpires here wore them in protest of the non-suspension of Ian Kinsler for his critical remarks about Angel Hernandez. But I don't know whether the umpires called off the protest or they got a memo or what, but none of them is wearing them today. Tomas Talis takes a strike and it's 0-2. Talis sharing first base with Tyler Moore right now in the absence of Justin Bour, who's down with an oblique injury. His 11th start. And he goes down swinging on the fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts for DeGrom to start the second. RBI Baseball 2017 is out now for Xbox One, PS4, iOS, and Android. Enjoy fast-paced pick-up-and-play MLB action, packed with all your favorite MLB teams, players, ballparks, and much more. Your breakout MLB season is here. You better come ready to play. Learn more at RBIGame.com.
Look at that beautiful meadow in Central Park. I wonder if that's Sheep's Head meadow.
Sheep's Meadow. Strawberry Fields.
Yes.
Call it what you will.
I have traipsed through that meadow many a time and run through it. Do my running in Central Park when I was able to run.
Miguel Rojas 1 for 8 in the series. And he fouls one away, and DeGrom quickly ahead 0-2. This is a different DeGrom than the one we saw in the first inning.
Well, this is the bottom half of the order, which always Ron Darling, our colleague, brought to my attention, never thought of it, was the inning, second inning, the inning to get your, to have a good, get your rhythm, bottom half of the order. Because certainly the first 5 hitters in this lineup are fairly formidable.
One-two coming off the corner. 2-2. Rojas has been a big pain in the Mets side this year, hitting .375 against Met pitching, but he broke his thumb against the Mets earlier this year, missed 2 months, and last night had a dreadful time in the field. Hit 2 errors in the Mets' big inning. And he lines this one, and it's snagged by Cicchini to end the inning. Perfectly timed leap by Gavin Cicchini. He takes a base hit away from Rojas to end the inning.
I dropped my head. I thought that was going into right field. Let's see it. Let me see it for the first time. Beautiful play.
Glad we can catch you up. Cicchini converted from shortstop to second and showing his hops. Travis d'Arnaud leads off in the home second. Travis fighting a slump right now, 3 for his last 33. 0 for 4 in this series. Last night, Kevin Plawecki made his return from the minor leagues, celebrated it with a 2-run homer. It's going to be very interesting, I think, to see how the playing time is divided between d'Arnaud and Plawecki over the next 6 weeks.
Yes, you've got 2 right-hand hitters.
Well, I think that at this point, I guess the Mets have to feel they know what they have in d'Arnaud, and that they need to figure out what they have in Plawecki so that they can have some plan going forward.
Well, d'Arnaud is a part of that big trade with Toronto, but that trade has already been justified with, you know, so with Syndergaard's the big guy there. So, and you got Plawecki, who's the #1 pick.
Right. So at this point, I think it comes down to, has Plawecki improved his offense enough to deserve a look, to be under consideration to either be a starter or a sharer of a starting job? Do the Mets need to look for catching in the offseason? Are they satisfied with what they have? And I think the next 6 weeks will tell a story, at least part of it, in terms of how the Mets address that position come off season. And d'Arnaud strikes out. Second strikeout for Conley, 1 out of the inning.
Well, what are your priorities? And that's going to be obviously Sandy Alderson's job. He makes the moves. I mean, you want to. Sandy's an offense guy. Do you want to concentrate on the bullpen and have a really solid pitching staff? You know, if your pitchers come back healthy, there's a big question mark about the rotation right now with the health. You don't know what you're going to get from Harvey. You don't know what you're going to get from Matz. All with their injuries. I've got to believe that Syndergaard will bounce back. People have bounced back from a lat.
Rosario bangs one up the middle for a base hit. So Ahmed continues to swing the bat well.
Ahmed has been going up the middle of late. Hitting that ball away right through the box.
4th hit in 9 bats in this series. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner. Their second hit against Conley, and now Dominic Smith in the lineup against the lefty today. He sat against the lefty Nicolino on Friday night. Conley does not give up stolen bases. Not only does he not give up stolen bases, he doesn't give up stolen base attempts. There has not been an attempt of a stolen base against Conley in the big leagues since more than a year ago. The last attempt was Jose Reyes stealing 3rd against him a year ago, July. Left-hander is all arms and legs. And a fastball strike to Smith.
Well, Smith's 2 home runs. He hit 1 last night. Were very impressive. And you see the switch there with the double play in order.
They move Gordon closer to the bag.
Yes. What are they doing?
Now they're going to go back the other way.
They're confused.
Dietrich now closer to the bag. Rojas playing on the left side.
I don't know.
That was odd.
Yeah, it was.
Well, you can understand how infielders would get confused with all the different formations that they are asked to perform in.
And Dietrich has played second base, so he's no stranger.
And Smith goes down swinging on the slider, and Conley has his 2nd strikeout of the inning and his 3rd of the day. So 2 out. Rosario still at first, and now Gavin Cecchini. Gavin called up when Reyes went on the disabled list. And Perry Hill, the infield coach for the Marlins, responsible for positioning them. More conventional alignment this time with Cecchini at the plate. Gavin had 15 at bats this year with the Mets before he got sent down. His first start since the 22nd of June. in his first big league home run at that trip to Dodger Stadium, and he hit it off Clayton Kershaw.
Yes.
To date, his only major league home run. His numbers were down in AAA this year, 267 this year, 325 last year. His OPS more than 100 points lower this year than last.
Swing looks entirely different than what we saw last year. I don't know what they're doing with him.
Came up last year at 7 at bats late in the season. Changeup misses, 2-1. Cicchini, first-round draft pick in 2012, still just 23 years old, and this is another guy the Mets have to figure out what they've got. But certainly coming off a down year in AAA after a good year last year in AAA certainly makes you question exactly where Cicchini is. Terry Collins was saying yesterday that they feel he's gotten into some bad habits that they need to work on. There's ball 4 and Cicchini is on. First walk given up by Conley. And so DeGrom will bat with 2 men aboard.
Who's watching the hen house down there in Las Vegas?
Hopefully not the Fox. Here's DeGrom, 13 hits this year, including a home run. Having his best offensive year, and that goes to the backstop, and that'll move the runners up. Slider that never seemed to break, and Realmuto couldn't grab it.
Fastball?
I don't know.
That's a tough call.
I'm going to call it a wild pitch.
Okay, and I have no argument.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. So 2 in scoring position now for DeGrom. He was driven in 4 runs this year. And he lifts one foul, 1-1. Rosario at third, Cicchini at second with 2 out. 1-2 to DeGrom, and that's low and away. And this one, Realmuto is able to stop. 2-2. .22 pitches in the inning for Conley. And DeGrom goes down on the slider to end the inning. Conley strikes out 3 in the second inning. Works around a single and a walk. We played 2 at Citi Field on a gorgeous Sunday afternoon. Things move quickly around here, you know. 1-1 ball game.
Through the first 6 innings.
Giancarlo Stanton to up third as the Marlins come to bat in the third inning. Still looking for his first hit in this series.
He has a nice demeanor about him. Always has a smile on his face.
Pitcher Adam Conley leads off in the third. 2 for 14 on the season. Lifetime 151 hitter.
He's wiggling that bat, isn't he? That's a lot of movement.
It's trying to look dangerous.
He moves it late too. It's going to be hard to get that barrel out. Remember what I said last night? That third base dugout better be wary.
Takes the curveball down 1-1. Well, he's all arms and legs when he pitches,
yes.
So it makes sense that he would be the same at the plate.
You know, that makes perfect sense. You kids, I wouldn't recommend that.
Well, he lines one over short, and he's got a base hit, so it works for him.
How about that?
Third hit against DeGrom, a leadoff single for the pitcher.
Not only a leadoff single, it was a rocket. This is paint. Outside corner, knee high. My goodness.
Wiggle works.
Couldn't have done it better myself.
Well,
it would have looked better.
Maybe now.
Well, let me have a week of BP. Let's see.
D. Gordon had a base hit, stole a base, and scored the Marlins run in the first inning. And he pops up the bunt attempt, and it's out of play. Last two starts, he was in complete command in that game in Philadelphia before he got hit in the arm by a line drive. And then he took the loss in his last start.
Well, there's 3 losses over his last 4 starts have been against contending teams. Seattle was his first loss, and it was a tough loss for him. The Dodgers kind of roughed him up early, and the Yankees.
Gordon trying to drop down a bunt, but he foul tips it, and it's 1-2. By the way, we just saw a statement from the umpires union, and they said that they are removing the white wristbands that they wore in protest yesterday because the commissioner's office has agreed to a meeting to talk about their concerns.
So the issue will be addressed.
1-2 coming, and it's up and away 2-2. You know, I heard a lot of people ridicule the umpires for their protest yesterday, but when you think about the verbal scathing that Ian Kinsler gave to Angel Hernandez, including calling for his job, well, I don't blame them.
I don't think he was. Well, I don't think he was calling for his job,
he
but
really was.
He just lambasted him.
And remember, he didn't say those things in the heat of the moment after the game. He said them the next day.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes when people say things in the heat of the moment, you give them a little bit of a pass. That was not the case.
And there's 3 things that have happened in a real short space of time.
Gordon lifts one out to left. In comes Cespedes, and it drops in front of him. The throw to second base, and they do not get the force play as Conley arrives safely. Well, that certainly appeared to be a ball that Cespedes should have caught. He did not.
I think they got the force out, Gary.
We'll see if the Mets challenge the call at second base. The ball appeared to arrive in time before Conley, and Terry Collins says we're challenging. But I don't know what happened to Cespedes.
I think he got a bad jump. A nice throw on the run. Fielded it cleanly. That made the difference. For the force, I think they got him. He's out. That is an O-U-T with a capital O.
Definitely out.
And that'll be a fielder's choice. See those pitchers, they muck it up. It cost D. Gordon a hit. Nice recovery by Cespedes.
Yeah, it was, but you know, off the bat, and it just appears that he doesn't not want to slide or leave his feet ever since he took up that divot and hurt his knee earlier this season. I mean, that's a ball that earlier in the year he would have slid for.
But Gary, well, we got a little time here, and here's the call. That's an out call, so they overturned the call.
That was easy. Play under review brought to you by Mazda Driving Matters. So it's a 7-4 force play, and Gordon is at first with 1 out.
I thought they fined or suspended Joe West for
3 games.
I thought that was just terrible.
Right.
Joe West did nothing in any way to disparage anybody.
All he said was that Adrian Beltre complains about calls.
And the reason that the explanation from the commissioner's office was absolutely like scared to death. And there should have been nothing put upon Joe West. On the other side, the lawsuit by Angel Hernandez, I think, is frivolous, and I'm not in favor of that.
One to Stanton.
And then you got the cherry on top with Kensler's remarks.
Stanton grounded out his first time up. Now 0 for 4 in this series. Gordon at first with 1 out. Stole a base in the first inning. And DeGrom will pay a little more attention to him this time. And that one's fouled off.
How about that? Fastest to 250. That's impressive. A lot of great players come down the pike.
Well, he's only 27. Think of how many home runs he'd have by now if he had stayed healthy over the last 5 years. 1-2 coming. First to throw over and a closer play as Gordon dives back.
See the advantage there. One of the advantages of having a left-handed first baseman. Get that quick snap tag on a pickoff play.
One-two. Fouls back the fastball.
Good cut. He looks like a hitter now. I'm going to be following him now, but this close stands to see how he goes from this point forward. Stanton, that is.
He reached for that slider and fouled it off. Well, the Mets have basically kept the ball away from Stanton in this series. They've had success in the past pitching him up and in, but we haven't seen a lot of that so far.
Well, if you're going to go in, go bad in. So if he swings, it's going to get the handle.
Carno staying away, and DeGrom again looks in on Gordon. Stole his 42nd base in the opening inning. Second to Billy Hamilton in the National League. As we'll see Hamilton 7 times before the end of the year. There goes Gordon. The pitch upstairs. Darno's throw is high, and Gordon has his second stolen base of the day and his 43rd of the year.
Well, there was your pitch inside right there, Gary. Fastball in. Darno's throwing so much better. I mean, the throw's not too high, but even a perfect throw. I'm just looking at his footwork, you know, his release. He's getting rid of the ball quick.
2-2 coming. Got him with a slider. So DeGrom strikes out Stanton for the second out. 4th strikeout of the day for Jake.
After the fastball inside, goes with the slider, and he paints it down and away. I think it might have been a little bit off the plate. Beautiful pitch. Textbook.
So now Yelich, who had a hard ground ball for an infield hit to drive in the Marlins run, and He swings over the slider at his feet, 0-1. You see the National League stolen base leaders. Trey Turner still third on that list despite having been out for the last 2 months. Yelich's RBI single in the first, his 61st run batted into the year. He's got Gordon at second with 2 out.
2 straight changeups. Interesting. Wilmer's got to be on his toes here, particularly be keen to where d'Arnaud sets up. If d'Arnaud sets up away, you got to be a little more, maybe edge a little closer to the line. You already got burnt down the line by Yelich. Those are the little things that you can pick up on if you're paying attention in the field. Gare, where the catcher sets up. Now the pitcher can't throw it there all the time, and DeGrom certainly is one of the best pitchers in the league, great command, but he makes mistakes too. But if the catcher's going to set up outside, maybe you want to kind of make a late one step to your right towards the line.
Yelich takes a strike. 2-2.
Good little tight backdoor slider right there, a little down tilt. Sharp. He's got a sharp breaking slider today. It's starting to come around this inning. He's really snapped 3 off. Outstanding.
Now the 2-2. And it's slapped toward third. That's off the glove of Flores, rolling into foul ground. Gordon heading home. He'll score. The throw goes to second. The Marlins lead 2-1. Well, Yelich has 2 RBI hits in this game. They have both gone off Flores' glove.
So particularly with 2 strikes, you double down a little more with a hitter like Yelich. So two outs. Gordon on the run here is going to score easily.
Wilmer needed you in his ear.
It's really baseball 101.
Ozuna hits a 2-hopper to Flores, makes this play for the force that ends the inning. But the Marlins go back in front on Yelich's second RBI infield hit. 2-1 Miami in the third. Sunday. Juan Lagares takes inside as we start the home third. Lagares fouled out to third base, leading off the first inning. Mets down 2-1 as they bat in the third. And Conley gets it over for a strike, 1-1. Lagares then Conforto and Cespedes for the Mets in the third. Lifts one foul. And he struck him out. Got him with a slider. Fifth strikeout for Conley. One down in the third. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. That's quite a grab.
Nice.
Now Conforto, who struck out his first time up. Conley is working quickly and effectively. Falls behind on Conforto, 2-0.
And the big shift to the right side of the infield. Dietrich way over in the hole on the cut of the grass.
Conforto deep to left field. Ozuna back onto the warning track to make the catch. Two out and nobody on. Now Cespedes, who drilled one into the seats in left field his first time up, his 16th home run of the year. There's the G pitch cast on the Cespedes home run.
Well, mid-thigh, maybe belt high, outer half. Rub up a new one.
The wind is blowing in from left field today, and Cespedes hit it right through that.
Right. That means the wind's blowing from the west, correct, Aaron? When it blows in from left field? City's over to our left. That's usually the prevailing winds in the summer. Let me get my compass out. Let's just be factual.
I think that's more from the
Well, don't think.
northwest.
Ah, you're right.
The only reason I say that is Cespedes tops one up the line and it just stays foul is because the sun sets behind the third base stand. They have shadows, they come from the third base line, and so that's west. So in left field, that's more north. You have a compass.
I do have a compass.
You're showing me
North's over here. I wouldn't think that.
So that wind blowing in from left is like northeast.
Correct.
Yeah. That's why it feels a little cooler today. Lower humidity.
Little Canadian cool air. 12 miles per hour.
2-2 coming. And that's up and in to Cespedes, full count. Anyway, my point was that the wind was no impediment for Cespedes, who goes down swinging to end the inning. 6 strikeouts in the first 3 innings for Adam Conley, who hasn't had more than 7 in the game this year. After 3, 2-1 Miami. 4th inning, 2-1 Miami. JT Realmuto leads off and goes after the curveball from DeGrom. Realmuto struck out his first time up. One of 4 strikeouts for DeGrom over the first 3 innings. 10 strikeouts overall in this game in the first 3 innings.
Well, I mentioned last inning that DeGrom is starting to snap off that curve slider. And I think he's going to start going to that well a little bit more.
There are the numbers for the best strikeout per 9 inning totals in the league this year. Strasburg, by the way, made his return from the DL last night. Lost, but pitched well, 6 good innings.
And Scherzer's on the DL with that neck issue.
But I think he's only going to miss the 1 start.
He's going to be fine. They want to go into the playoffs with a full war chest.
The guy who has pitched wonderfully for the Nats all year has been Gio Gonzalez.
He has been a pleasant surprise.
DeGrom behind 3-1. And Realmuto fouls off the high slider, full count. Be at Citi Field Saturday, September 9th. The Mets take on the Reds at 7:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fleece blanket courtesy of the Northwest Company. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Three-2 to Realmuto, and it's lined to center, but Lagares has it lined up. 1 out. Get a preview of tomorrow's Giants preseason matchup in Cleveland, plus the latest from Jets camp on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. One out of the 4th, and now Derek Dietrich, who struck out his first time up. And he hits one out to right. Coming on is Conforto, diving, and he made the catch. Wonderful play by Conforto as that ball died in front of him, leaving his feet and making a tremendous catch.
Boy, I'll say here, he came a long way for this ball. Laid out, beautiful backhand.
So 2 up and 2 quickly set aside. And here's Tomas Telis.
That's just good hustle. Laying it out for your pitcher there.
Who was it who said he couldn't play the outfield?
What? Forgot.
Telis lines one to the right. That's a base hit. So 3 line drives in the inning off DeGrom, and the 3rd one falls for a 2-out hit.
So I guess with the eclipse tomorrow, Gara, it's going to be on the East Coast. It's going to full totality at 240. Would you be in the middle of your drive?
But it's not going to be 100% here.
Right.
It's going to be more like 70%.
But still, you'll be in your drive to the ballpark, or close to the park.
I'll try not to
be careful.
Cower in fear.
Do not look into the sun, Gara.
Don't you know me better than that?
And don't try to drive with those glasses either.
Miguel Rojas pops one up in the middle of the infield.
Oh.
And Darno almost tripped over the bat. Smith comes in to get it. The wind really took that ball into foul territory. And that's the 3rd out. Darno fortunate that he did not trip over the bat. Nothing for Conforto to trip over. And he makes a wonderful play to help DeGrom through the top of the 4th. is who is the only major league player to lead his league in stolen bases with 3 different teams. Wilmer Flores leads off the home fourth. Wilmer flied out to right his first time up. He fouls one off at the plate. 0-2. Leading his league in stolen bases for 3 different teams, huh?
Well, Ricky probably did it for 2. He didn't do it with the Mets.
Could he have done it with one of the other teams he played for later in his career? The Padres, the Mariners? I would think so, but. And that one hits Flores on the leg, and he'll go to first base. So the Mets have a leadoff base runner in painful fashion. Well, you can hear Wilmer react.
You always hear Wilmer react when the ball gets close.
On the top of the foot. Darno takes a big cut of the changeup, 0-1. Travis struck out his first time up. It's got a home run from Cespedes in the first. They left 2 men on base in the second. They've got the leadoff man on here in the fourth, down by a run. And Conley goes away, ball on a strike. Ahmed Rosario waiting on deck. Sundays at home have not been kind to the Mets this year. They are 2-8 at Citi Field on Sundays. Late swing by Darno on the high fastball, 1-2. And they've been outscored in those 10 Sunday games at home, 70-26. Not pretty. Is there any explanation for that?
No.
Just happenstance.
They need more coffee.
Well, but the other team would need the same coffee. I'm sure. Always in day games, the clubhouse is on. A lot of coffee is consumed. This guy likes day. Yeah, he's their best day game weapon, but he can't play the other 8 positions.
But he's once every 5th day.
Right.
The everyday player is used to playing, night games, and all of a sudden, got to get up early.
I mean, look at those numbers in day games.
Yes,
He truly is the sunshine Superman. 3-2 to Darno, and that's ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Conley got ahead on Flores, hit him with a pitch, got ahead on Darno, winds up walking him. His second walk of the day.
and when you do something like that, you should pay the fiddler, and we'll see if the Mets take advantage here.
Rosario banged one up the middle for a base at his first time up.
Well, depending on where the corner infielders play here, and it looks like they're going to respect the chance of a bunt. I don't want Rosario bunting here, not at this stage of the season. If you're in a stretch run and it's a tight race, okay, but this is a young man you want to take a look at.
There's not a chance he's bunting here.
Correct.
Popped up foul. I don't even know why the Marlins would play for the bunt in that spot, particularly with Dominic Smith on deck and a lefty on the mound.
Agreed. And Talise, the first baseman, who is very inexperienced as a catcher, he's on the grass, on the cut of the grass. They should. I mean, Dietrich is okay where he's at there, around 5 feet behind.
Rosario pops it up. Talise looking for it in foul ground. And makes the grab for the first down. So Rosario is retired on the foul pop-up. That'll get Smith to the plate.
Dominic chased a bad slider down and away. It was a strikeout victim back in the second inning, his first at bat.
He's only had limited exposure to lefties since he's been called up. Only 4 at bats now, looking for his first hit against a left-hander. Goes after the first pitch slider and fouls back. 5 for 30 over his first 10 big league games. 2 home runs, including 1 last night. Flores at second, Darno at first with 1 out. That's down a run on the 4th. And that slider knocked down by Real Muto, 1-1.
Check out the right foot of Real Muto. You got to get that. You got to be ready to go both ways. Those feet have got to be planted and ready to move left or right.
Well, in anticipation of that pitch, he had his feet spread especially wide, which can sometimes make it a little harder to push off. But he did a nice job with it. 2-1 to Dominic. And he grounds one right at the shortstop. Actually, that's Dietrich, the third baseman, who makes the play. That's a 5-5-3 double play, and that ends the inning. Well, maybe it was the shortstop. You never know with these shifts. Yeah, look at that. It's Rojas. 6-6-3. Write it down that way.
You ruined my scorecard.
Sorry, Pete. Ford summer sales event is on. For big savings, go to buyfordnow.com. 2-1 Miami as we start the 5th. And pitcher Adam Conley, who had a base hit to open the 3rd inning, will lead off again in the 5th. And DeGrom starts him off with a curveball for a strike. Conley's hit was his 3rd of the year, the 12th of his career. One of 5 hits against DeGrom today. And quickly 0-2. D. Gordon on deck, then Giancarlo Stanton. There's the Spectrum high-speed pitch. DeGrom is topped out at 96. And he takes care of Conley in short order. His 5th strikeout of the day.
Well, we got a Mattingly fan here. Not a Yankee uniform. That is a Marlin uniform.
Yes, indeed.
Here's Big Don. What a player he was. What a hitter.
D. Gordon 1 for 2 today, and he fouls one off. Gordon singled, stole a base, and scored a run in the first. Reached on a fielder's choice, stole a base, and scored a run in the third. So Gordon's speed has built both runs for the Marlins today. Corners in against D. And he takes a strike. Giancarlo Stanton on deck, and for more on the Marlins slugger, let's check in with Eamon McEnany. Eamon.
Well, you know, Gary, with so much attention being given to his new closed stance, I talked to Marlins hitting coach Mike Pagliarillo over the weekend about how he went about coaching it, since that kind of approach at the plate has become somewhat outdated as Gordon swings and misses for strike 3. And Pagliarillo told me he went back and looked at tape of guys who have used that stance in the past that have been successful, such as Vladimir Guerrero, Darryl Strawberry, and Dave Winfield. He even called his former Yankee teammate, and Winfield told him what he thought was the best thing about the stance was that it allowed him to get in front of the inside pitch and pull it. And Pagliarillo also told me that when the idea comes from the player, as a coach, you tend to be more supportive of it because the player then will stick with it and trust it a little bit more. And he told me the combination of that belief and Stanton's work ethic, and well, the results speak for themselves, Gary.
Well, Dave Winfield was a terrific player, a Hall of Famer, and he hit with a closed stance.
So did you.
Yes. Winfield was a very formidable bat in that San Diego Padre lineup, with Tony Gwynn hitting third and Winfield hitting fourth behind him. It's a pretty good 3-4 punch right there.
So far, DeGrom has handled Stanton today. He's grounded out and struck out 0 for 2. Behind him 2-0. And Stanton bangs one up the middle for his first hit in this series. So after going 0 for 5 with 5 walks, Stanton has a 2-out single.
Well, one thing that Stanton does well is that he does stay level with that little cutter, didn't get it away. The level swing. A lot of his home runs are like 2-irons. They're line drive home runs. He's so strong. Like to see him open up that front foot a little more, get it to, when he swings, to move that front toes pointing towards the pitcher. That frees your hips up to rotate completely.
So Stanton at first with 2 out. Now Yelich. So in Detroit today, through the first 5 innings, Kenta Maeda for the Dodgers, Justin Verlander for the Tigers, both were working on no-hitters.
Oh.
In the top of the 6th, Verlander's no-hitter went away when Curtis Granderson hit a home run. 1-0 Dodgers.
Wow. Congratulations, Curtis.
And back in Detroit, where he got a huge ovation yesterday from Tiger fans who still revere him, back in the city where he began his career. So that's a terrific note for Curtis, breaking up the no-hit bid and giving the Dodgers the lead. As if the Dodgers need a lot of help. 52-9 in their last 61 games. 2-1 to Yelich. Yelich has 2 infield hits, both off the glove of Flores. Each drove in a run, and Flores this time is playing closer to the line. And that's through DeGrom and into center field. And Jake was fortunate to get out of the way of that one. That was a bullet. And Yelich is 3 for 3.
Well, this is the turn through the lineup right here. Oh, I almost got his shin. Stanton, Yelich, and Ozuna. 3 guys you've got to be careful with. Obviously Gordon too, but Stanton, Yelich, and Ozuna are RBI guys.
So 2 out and 2 on, and now Ozuna, who has flied out and hit into a fielder's choice today, 0 for 2. 7 hits now for the Marlins, over 4 2/3 against DeGrom. And for Jake, who has had a penchant throughout his career, finding his way through when he has not been at the top of this game. He's got a big out to get right here to keep this a one-run game. Nails the outside corner, 0-1. He dominated the Marlins early in his career, not so great lately, although his one start against Miami this year he was completely dominant. 13 strikeouts in 7 innings. Left with a lead, only to have the bullpen give it away. Popped it up, shallow right. Conforto coming in, and the wind grabbed it, and Conforto stayed with it. Side retired. 2 hits, 2 left. Big out for DeGrom. Home 5th inning, Gavin Cecchini leads off against Adam Conley. That's down 2-1. Cecchini drew a walk his first time up. Takes the fastball for a strike, and it's 0-2. DeGrom on deck, then Lagares for the Mets in the 5th. Conley moves it back. The 12th pick by the Mets in the 2012 draft. With some of the other names in that draft, including the Mets' Kevin Plawecki, who went in the supplemental first round. Carlos Correa, Corey Seager.
Lance McCullers Jr.
Cecchini goes down on strike. That's 7 for Conley, matching his season high. Marcus Stroman went later in that first round.
Scotty. Okay. Pirates just lit up Waka yesterday, did they not?
Was that Waka yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was.
Bob takes a rip and fouls it off. 0-1. Jake struck out his first time up. Mets have announced the player that they have gotten as the player to be named later in the Curtis Granderson trade with the Dodgers. It's another hard-throwing young reliever. His name is Jacob Rhame, R-H-A-M-E, 28th ranked prospect in the Dodgers system. That's lined the other way by DeGrom, but it stays up for Ozuna, and there are 2 out. and they say Rain throws mid to high 90s, occasionally touching 100. So Sandy Alderson continues to stockpile these young, hard-throwing relievers, the likes of which the Mets haven't had this year. Well, trying to rebuild that bullpen, hoping that maybe one or two of them can help either next year or down the road.
So the importance of the bullpen is getting uplifted more. Pretty soon it's going to be starters going 5 and adios. You watch.
Well, I don't know about pretty soon. Happens a lot now.
Well, it's going to be a common thing, and it's going to be accepted as the norm. 5 and fly. Still have a beer.
Garris hits it right at the shortstop, and Rojas throws him out. Conley has himself a 1-2-3 bottom of the 5th after 5, 2-1 Miami. Miami as we start the 6th. JT Realmuto leads off. It's a hard ground ball right to Cicchini. 1 pitch and 1 out for DeGrom on the top of the 6th. We are updating our 6th inning recap to reflect the out recorded by DeGrom. Our guys are so quick. See, now it says 5 1/3 inning. Our guys are good.
We have an A team.
And we don't even have Mr. T. 1 out now. Derek Dietrich, who was robbed of a hit on a great play by Conforto his last time up, takes a strike. Dietrich 0 for 2 today. Rom could use a quick inning. He hasn't had many of those. Struck out 6, but he's given up 7 base hits. Took him to 85 pitches through 5 innings. Threw 107 1/3 in his last start. Not going to happen for him that way today. And Dietrich takes up and in 1-2. Strike 3 called. Dietrich caught looking again. 7 strikeouts for DeGrom, 2 out of the inning. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz as a game break brought to you by your Tri Honda dealers. Jonas. All right, thanks, Jonas. Here's Tomas Talise with 2 out. Takes a curveball for a strike. Talise had a base hit to right field his last time up, 1 for 2. Switch hitter, much better left-hand hitter. And he gets jammed and fouls it off, 0-2. DeGrom has struck out 7 today. Make it 8 as he gets Talise to end the inning. There's that quick 1-2-3 inning that DeGrom was looking for. It took him just 8 pitches to get through the top of the 6th. Now the Mets will go back to work in the bottom of the 6th, down by a run. Home 6th inning, Michael Conforto takes a slider for a strike. Conforto is 0 for 2, hit one to the warning track in left field his last time up. And that's on the corner for a strike, and Conley, who's been sharp today, gets ahead 0-2.
And he's a fast worker.
He is about as fast as we've seen all year. 27-year-old from Washington State. Pac-10 opponent of Michael Conforto's Oregon State Beavers. 1-2. And Conforto strikes out on a pitch in the dirt. Real Muto makes the toss. And Conforto has struck out for the 2nd time today. That's 8 for Conley, new season high, and just 1 shy of his career high.
Nice to see Conforto, ball in the dirt. He runs the first base. Make him force the throw. Good throw it away.
Now Cespedes, who homered for the only Met run back in the 1st inning, his 16th of the year.
Home run back in the 1st. Big power ball out over the plate. A little below the belt.
Conley goes with a change-up and then a slider, and it's 0-2. He's at command of all 3 of his pitches today.
Looks like Sandy Koufax out there. Well, not really.
Minus about 10 miles an hour. And he strikes out Cespedes on 3 pitches. 9 strikeouts for Conley to match his season high. His career high, excuse me.
I'm a little befuddled here at the strikeouts.
You know, Conley has had great games against the Mets virtually every time he's faced them. He had that game earlier this year when he gave up only 1 hit in 5 innings. Gave up a home run to Duda and nothing else. There's Flores, and he takes a strike. Well, Lucas is doing fine for Tampa Bay, but they don't score much. And they've been losing every day. 8 of their last 9 now. Lucas hit another home run yesterday.
Water seeks its level, Gary. They were a team that no one expected to be where they were at this point, and now it's getting to the point where it's trying to think of a better term.
And Conley strikes out the side on 10 pitches.
Wow.
That is amazing. New career high, 10 strikeouts for Conley. He's got a 2-1 lead after 6.
All fastballs.
From Giants camp as they get ready to take on the Browns on SNY.TV, your online home for all things New York sports. 7th inning, Miguel Rojas bluffs a bunt and takes a strike. Well, Jacob deGrom has settled in nicely, but Adam Conley has outpitched him to this point. Conley a career high 10 strikeouts and a 2-1 Miami lead as we start the 7th. Rojas is 0 for 2, lined out and fouled out. And that's lined the other way, and a base hit for Rojas to start the 7th inning. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz has another game break brought to you by the New York State Department of Health. Quickly things can change.
Yes. Look at last night's game.
There's Conley. Mets look for the bunt. Conley has a single and a strikeout today. And Conley bunts it right in front of the plate. d'Arnaud turns down the chance to throw to second and takes the sure out at first. And d'Arnaud pounding his mitt, maybe second guessing himself.
Well, watch Smith on your upper right screen. Look at the big lead he allowed the runner to get by not really holding him on closely. And that's the difference right there.
So it's a sacrifice, 2-4, 5th sack of the year for Conley, and that gives the Marlins a runner in scoring position. So how can Smith better handle that?
Well, it's something that has to be worked on as part of all your plays defensively as a team here. All the teams that I played with in St. Louis, we had the 3 plays. Well, we've talked about it before, where I go to the pitcher and tell them 3 sequences of pitches. You go home, come over, go home, whatever jumble you want to put them in. And a right-hander would come to the belt. I'd be 2 feet in front of the bag. And as soon as I broke home, he'd throw home. And I'd allow me the good jump and still hold the runner on. A left-hander, it was just the opposite. I would key off the left-hander if he was going home. As soon as the left-hander broke from the belt, I know he's not coming over, I'd break. So the runner has to hold. If you cheat like Smith did there, it allowed that runner to get that big lead, which we saw in that replay, and that the difference of him being way out at second base, and now he's in scoring position.
Eric Goodell, Josh Smoker up in the Mets bullpen. With DeGrom up to 98 pitches on the day. 0-2 to Gordon. And it's up and away. Do you think it's a tendency on the part of young first basemen, though, to be so conscious of charging that maybe they allow the runner more liberties than they should?
No, I think that it's a very accomplished first baseman, Dominic. Defensively, he's very accomplished. And you always want to get the out. I always felt I failed if the sacrifice was successful. You always want to get the lead out, and it not only keeps the, obviously, it means basically basics here, keeps the runner out of scoring position and keeps the double play in order. So, you know, it's 2 for the price of 1.
It did seem, though, as though Darno still might have had a play.
He did, yes, but what I'm saying is, okay, fine. But if they had had that play where the runner wasn't able to get that lead, then there would have been absolutely no doubt.
And they might have gotten
Darno's
double play, too.
Correct.
1-2 to Gordon with Stanton on deck. Grounded to short, runner will advance. Rosario took his time and he lost it. With D. Gordon running, you just can't afford any extra time, and Rosario too slow. And Gordon has an infield hit.
Well, we mentioned earlier, Gary, that first at bat when Gordon, I'm sorry, it was last night. Gordon runs everything out hard.
Well, remember with the first game that Rosario played, he took a little too long with a glove tap against a fast runner. And it happened to him again.
Well, let's take a peek here. Yep, too much la-di-da, and you got to know your runners. That would make me upset.
Well, I mean, that's a huge out right there. Not just because Gordon beat it, but now you got Stanton coming up with first and third and 1 out instead of a runner at third and 2 out, and it just takes away so much leeway for DeGrom in terms of pitching to Stanton.
It's just it's a lazy error. Lackadaisical is a better word.
It doesn't even go in the books as an error. It goes as a hit.
Right.
Second hit for Gordon. So now here's Stanton, who had his first hit in the series last time up, a single to center field. He's 1 for 3. First and third and 1 out, and Gordon aboard at first. Gordon has stolen 2 bases today. I wonder whether he would be disinclined from stealing here.
Well, oh, he's got, look at that. The glove is in his mouth. Now he's got it on. Oh,
in the air, deep left field. Back goes Cespedes, looking up, and it's out of here. Giancarlo Stanton strikes. A 3-run homer, his 45th of the year. And the Marlins now lead at 5-1.
Well, I am wondering, it wasn't a mammoth shot. It just barely got out. They all count, as Yogi said. And it's a big blow in the game right here.
So an inning where the Mets have not performed defensively the way they should have set the stage for Stanton, and he made no mistake.
I wonder if the lackadaisical play affected the concentration of DeGrom.
Well, his day is over. DeGrom is pulled after 6 1/3 innings after giving up the home run to Stanton. The 4th that Stanton has hit against DeGrom, and his 33rd against the Mets. 21 of them at Citi Field, by far the most of any visiting player. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 5-1 Miami in the 7th. We'll be right back. Pitched to him today, and Stanton just lost one.
Oh, I wonder if it was a changeup. Not sure. Not a mammoth shot.
Deep enough.
Wasn't even over the Great Wall of Flushing.
Josh Smoker in to pitch to Christian Yelich, who's 3 for 3 today.
And there's your contact, inner half. Got in a little bit on, that's why it wasn't hit so far. Got it closer to the label, but he's so doggone strong.
19 home runs since the All-Star break, 45 for the year for the major league leader.
There's Josh's numbers. He's pitched better of late, although the ERA.
He was really good in the first game of the series, retired all 5 to face him. And he misses with the slider to Yelich, 2-1. How about this? It's the first 3-run homer that DeGrom has given up in the last 2 seasons.
Really?
He had not given up a 3-run homer or a grand slam this year or last year. You got to go back to August of 2015 when Dominic Brown hit a 3-run homer against him for the Phillies. Over toward the line, Cespedes as he drops the ball. Yelich heading for second, and he arrives safely. Wow, Cespedes just having a dreadful day. I mean, he let a ball fall in front of him earlier. Now a routine play, and he drops it.
Well, it's a routine play, and it's not so much coasting over there, Gary. It's you got it. You're a big league player, but it's just 2 hands. You know, when you use one hand, you're going to make that play 99 out of 100 times, but you're going to drop it one time, and it's going to look bad, and it could, worse yet, cost a ball game.
Now, this has been a really bad defensive inning for the Mets, even though that's only the first error of the inning. Here's Ozuna, who's 0 for 3.
Well, you said it, Gary. If they make the play at second base, that bunt should have been a double play.
Gordon's ball was a routine grounder. If you make that play, then Stanton never gets to the plate in this inning.
You know, DeGrom threw the 3-run home run, but he got put in jeopardy by his defense.
Overthrows one by Ozuna, and it's 0-2. Well, you understand it with young players. Rosario forgot or didn't realize that Gordon was running. Smith maybe charged a little too fast on the bunt. Those guys are in their first weeks in the major leagues. But you really need your best player, your highest paid player, to concentrate a little better.
I agree. And, you know, in all the extra coaching that's in today's game and all the preparation to the game, kids getting here, the young players getting here at 12 noon. It's like spring training every day out here, with, you know, at 3 o'clock, where they're hitting ground balls and working on fundamentals. And you don't have a coach that tells your young infielders who can run. You just can't take it for granted that, okay, if I look at the stats and I see D. Gordon, okay, if I didn't know D. Gordon from Adam, I would look there and go, oh my God, he's got 40 stolen bases. I better be careful. He could probably eat runs.
To Ozuna, and that's hit hard. That's a base hit, and Yelich will come around and score. Ozuna stops at first with an RBI single. Marlins tack on an unearned run and lead it 6-1. So the Cespedes drop proves costly. Ozuna drives in his 93rd run of the year.
He stays level too, and like I said, it was very quick inside Ozuna. Well, if you come inside to him, you better get it in there, and you miss off the plate.
With Realmuto, who's 0 for 3 today. And he takes a changeup for a strike. Realmuto has struck out, lined to center, and grounded out 0 for 3. Marlins now with 6 runs and 11 hits. The Mets run on 2 hits.
Well, this game has blown up in the 7th.
There's been a lot of conversation the last few days, Keith, about how much veteran leadership has left the Mets clubhouse with all these trades, with Granderson and Bruce and all the rest. At some point, as you head into the final quarter of a season where the Mets have little to play for in terms of contention,
right,
but a lot to play for in terms of getting ready for next season. Well, how does this clubhouse handle making sure everybody's on point?
Well, the coaching staff and the manager are going to have to be on top of it, number one. And you know, Terry is the commander down there. I'm sure he's not very happy with the performance today. I'm sure he'll have some words to say, whether to the team or individually. But for a young player, it's for a young player coming up that's getting a chance to play 40+ games and really gets to show his wares. You cannot play lackadaisical and make mental errors. You've got everything in the world, every incentive in the world. This is my break. I've worked my whole life to get here. Here's the door. The door is not just cracked, it's wide open. The management has made it plain. You're going to play. We want to give you a good look. We want you to be in our plans next year. And you just got to come on point and play. And be alert, and not make. It's okay to make errors, physical errors, base running mistakes. You know, the physicality of it, the physical errors are fine, but the mental errors, you don't want those. You want to. This is a big chance to shine and impress your general manager and your coaching staff.
So when you have for lack of a better term, a leadership void in a clubhouse, is it incumbent upon somebody to say something, somebody to be the example? Is it a veteran player? Can it be a younger player? Is that overrated, or am I talking about something that really doesn't matter so much?
I know what you're saying right now, and you are correct that we've lost a lot of the veteran leadership, and this is part of the transition that's happening. And I see the leadership now having to come from some of the pitchers. I mean, one pitcher in particular, DeGrom, is right now is the veteran on this team.
But can a pitcher be that guy?
There's very few, very few powerful personalities like a Bob Gibson that comes to mind. But as we said, Gary, this team's in transition right now. They're making moves. They're stocking up in bullpen arms that throw hard. The look is to the future. So not only is this team in transition, it's on a leadership level. They're looking for another leader too right now.
All for the Dietrich, and the inning continues.
And you may not find it the remaining 40 games. And I certainly don't want to put on Conforto.
No, I think that's unfair, and everybody's been saying that about Conforto taking on a leadership mantle, and that might happen down the road. But this guy was in the minor leagues 2 years ago, and he was in the minor leagues again last year, and he's had a really terrific year this year. But I think it's way too much to ask of him at this point in his career.
No question.
To be that guy.
No question. And I don't see anybody else out here right now that.
Well, is it too much to ask your $110 million left fielder to at least have some responsibility for that?
Well, I've played with a lot of great players, Gare. Some that thrived in leadership and some that shied away. And they were just as the ones that shied away that didn't want anything to do with it. Well, they were just as valuable on the field performing, but they missed the boat. You can be add so much than just your numbers to a ball club by being someone that's caring. So that's an example, and cares about the other players and nurtures. And I don't want nurtures is a bad word because there's too much nurturing in today's game. But lends a hand. That's a better word.
Right.
I always revert back to Lou Brock. So that's what I became. My example was Lou Brock, and I always said that if the tables ever turned and I was in that position, and it did when I got traded to the Mets with all the young players, and I really loved it. I loved being around those young guys. It invigorated me, and it feels good.
1-2 to Talise, and he fouls it off.
Well, still, this team, for myriad of reasons, is 12 under 500. When the veterans were here, the people that were setting the example. But if you didn't have those people, say all your veterans, because okay, well, the season's over, we're having a bad year. Let's we'll just dial it in. Just punch the clock. We'll make it look good. It sets the example for the young kids. Even though you're having a bad year, that's when you really got to dig deep and set the example that, like Jay Bruce, for example.
Well, we saw with Bruce and Granderson, those guys played hard every single day.
Agreed. And you have to dig down. And it's also, pride in performance. There's a lot of, I remember Jim Codd a long time ago when the Cardinals gave me a long-term contract the same year they gave Gary Templeton, I believe, 2 5-year deals. And I remember Jim Codd coming over. Tempe had all his problems. And Jim Codd told me, you've got to know who to give your long-term contracts to. And that's difficult to make that decision. You got some very, very talented people to play this game. And, I think it's a normal human reaction to, what's the term, fat cat, become a little lazy. Gary, I had 2 5-year contracts, and I was determined to perform in those 5-year contracts. But I can tell you the 3rd year of both those contracts was the most difficult year because I had 2 good seasons. I'm right in the middle of the contract. It has nothing to do with me playing. I got another 3 years, and so it had nothing to do with me playing for another contract. And that was the third year was a difficult year for me. Then the fourth and fifth were all like, skiing downhill. That makes sense to you?
4 runs for the Marlins in that 7th inning. 3 of them on one big swing off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton. 45th home run of the year for Stanton. With a big crimp in DeGrom's afternoon. 6-1 Miami in the 7th. The new caramel M&Ms. M&M's is making caramel fun. Not home? No problem. Watch every SNY Mets game wherever you are on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Box score presented by Empire City Casino. Cespedes homered in the first inning. Mets have done nothing with Adam Conley since. Only 2 hits this afternoon. Conley has struck out 10 over the first 6 innings, a new career high, and he's back out there for the 7th now with a 5-run lead. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. Only player to lead his league in stolen bases with 3 different teams. Juan Pierre.
He was a nice little player, man. He was
really
a hustler.
And nobody outworked him. Remember when he was with the Marlins? Yep. He used to come out early and roll balls along the first and third base lines to see how they break. So he knew how to bunt for base hits. I don't recall ever seeing anybody else do that.
And it's attention to detail. I'm almost neurotic.
Well, worked for him. Part of the World Championship team with the Marlins in 2003. He and Luis Castillo at the top of the batting order were a phenomenal set of table setters.
Yes, they were.
Travis d'Arnaud pulls one through the hole, and he's got the Mets' 3rd hit of the day.
What a concept.
His first hit in this series.
What a concept, table setters.
Well, the team the Mets are about to play, the Diamondbacks, they've got table setters. David Peralta, A.J. Pollock at the top of that batting order. We saw it in Colorado with Charlie Blackmon and DJ LeMahieu. They're the city probables for the series with the Diamondbacks. Gazelman will try and bounce back against Taiwan Walker tomorrow night. Stephen Matz against Patrick Corbin, battle of lefties Tuesday. Chris Flexen and Zach Godley on Wednesday, and then Rafael Montero looking for a 3rd straight solid outing against Robbie Ray, who's coming back from a concussion Having been hit in the head by a line drive, it'll be his first start in almost a month. Rosario rolls one out to short. Rojas to Gordon, and the turn not quite in time. That time it was Rosario who used his speed to beat the play and stay out of the double play.
Well, Rosario hustling down the line. Too much speed.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Dominic Smith. Both teams have their bullpen cranking. Smith is 0 for 2, struck out and grounded into a double play. Little chance Rosario will be running down 5 runs, and Smith swings over the off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2. Finally having a career day today. But this has been his norm against the Mets. No matter how much everybody else hits him, the Mets don't. Lifetime ERA against the Mets coming into the day of 1.98, and that's only gotten better. Last year, Conley had a really good year for the Marlins. He had 25 starts. He was 8-6, 3.85, but it just has not gone right for him right from the beginning this year. Wound up back in the minors for a couple of months. And he strikes out Smith, and that's 11 now from Adam Conley. Second time he's gotten Dominic Smith, who's had a rough day against the lefty. So 2 out. Rosario at first. Here's Gavin Cecchini up for the 3rd time. He's walked and struck out. And he pops one up. Coming back, Real Muto to the screen. He reaches and makes a nice play. Real Muto using every inch that he had in front of that screen. Catches the foul pop up by Cecchini to get Conley through the bottom of the 7th. He didn't get rid of the mask. He held onto it, but he only needed the glove to make the catch. Why throw the mask if you don't have to? 6-1 Marlins going to the 8th. Brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. That was the best catch of the day. Michael Conforto with a diving play in right field. Eric Goodell on to pitch in the top of the 8th inning. Goodell's last outing was Wednesday night against the Yankees. He worked a scoreless inning. The Met bullpen coming into today was working on a streak of 12 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings. That ended when Josh Smoker gave up an unearned run in the 7th. But still now no earned runs against that bullpen the last 13 innings. And Goodell's first offering is up and in to Miguel Rojas. Rojas started the 4-run 7th inning for the Marlins with an opposite field single. Ichiro Suzuki on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher Conley, who appears to be done after 7 terrific innings in which he struck out 11. It's too high to Rojas, 2-0. Strike. Today's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Conley with one of the best efforts of his career. DeGrom not so much. Was going okay until a flurry of poor defense and one huge swing by Giancarlo Stanton put an end to Jake's day in the 7th. 2-2 to Rojas. DeGrom in line for his 7th loss of the year and his 4th in his last 5 decisions. Two and 2 to Rojas, and he bounces one for Cicchini. Comes in to get it. 1 out. And now Ichiro Suzuki will pinch it. 3,066 hits in his major league career, and 20 of them pinch hits this season. And he gets a very nice hand from the crowd, realizing this may be the last time they see Ichiro Suzuki at Citi Field. Don't know what the future holds for Ichiro. He's talked about continuing next year, but you never know. Age 43. One of the 2 active members of the 3,000 hit club, along with Adrian Beltre.
Very close, his feet. Well, pretty amazing coming over. What would his numbers have been if he had come over at an earlier age?
Well, all you can do is add up the numbers, and they tell you that combined between here and Japan, he's got more hits than anybody in history, including Pete Rose.
And they play less games in Japan too.
They do, 130 games a year. Well, he was a phenomenon from the moment he arrived in this country 16 years ago. And he continues to be a phenomenon with the shape that he's in and the way that he's adapted to this new role of pinch hitting. Might well set a record this year for most pinch hit at bats in a season, and has a chance to set the record for most pinch hits. He's got 20. The record is 28. He goes down on the splitter from Goodell. Ichiro struck out, and there are 2 out. And he gets another nice hand as he walks up.
There's the splitter grip. The splitter was up.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now D. Gordon, whose speed has played an enormous factor in this game. In the first inning, singled, stole second, moved to third on a ground out, and scored on an infield hit. That's how the Marlins got their first lead. After the Mets tied it, he reached on a forced play in the third, stole a base, and scored on another infield hit to put the Marlins up 2-1. Then he beat out a routine infield grounder for an infield hit of his own in the 7th, right in front of Stanton's 3-run homer. So we may well be in an era where power is ascendant, but speed still plays in this game.
Yep.
And Deke Gordon is the epitome of that. Goodell ahead 0-2, and he carves one foul. Drissamer Despaigne up in the bullpen for the Marlins.
That's right. He wears his cap, his visor, a little off center.
Askew. Tap to the mound.
Nice.
Goodell makes the play. Side retired. So Eric Goodell comes in, pitches a 1-2-3 inning, keeps it at 6-1.
Gaiety of date night, fun night, Borden's night. Elsie the cow has been to Flushing Meadow, and one night she brought a couple of calves for heroes Tom Seaver and Cleon Jones. Some hero. Then there was the Mayor's Trophy game, too. The Mets beat the Yankees that night to help promote Sandlot baseball.
Can you imagine in 2017 your ace pitcher picking up a calf and carrying it off toward the dugout?
Not today.
No, not today.
We're so far removed.
Brandon Nimmo pinch hitting, drills one into the right field corner against Odrisamer Despaigne, and he's got himself a leadoff double. Well, Nimmo just continues to excel coming off the bench. A rifle shot double to start the bottom of the 8th inning.
He likes this roll. Little toe tap. Beautiful swing right there. Doesn't try to do too much.
Really is a catch-22 for a young player, right? You want to be successful coming off the bench, but you don't want to be too good at it, because then maybe you get pigeonholed into that role, and who wants that? There's Lagares. And he takes a strike. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But if you don't do it, you might get Fanny set down to the minors. 8 games there for Despaigne.
First saw Despaigne as a starter in San Diego a few years ago.
It's kind of a nice name, isn't it? Nice pronunciation.
He handles the comebacker from Lagares, and that's the first out. He is a junk baller in the best sense of the word. Lots of different arm angles and pitches and spins. Like a latter-day Louis Tiant.
Louis Tiant, if you look at his numbers, he won 20 games for those Indians. He was quite the pitcher.
Yes, he was.
And he really got no publicity.
It wasn't until he went to the Red Sox.
He played in, yeah, right, exactly. And when he played those years in Cleveland were never great teams, and you just didn't read about it. He's a wonderful man, too.
Conforto 0 for 3 today. And a check swing foul. But what a day for Adam Conley. He went 7. Allowed 1 run and 3 hits. Walked 2, struck out 11. Conley's worked 19 innings against the Mets this year and given up 10 hits in those 19 innings. There's a chance for his 2nd win against the Mets this year and his 6th win of the season. Just off the plate to Conforto, and Espana behind 3-1. Strike 3-2.
I see that front shoulder of Conforto just opening up a little bit too quick. And that's all part of the process. You go through these ups and downs in the course of the season. Good hitters keep them at a minimum. He needs to tuck that shoulder. Focus on that shoulder.
He's on with a walk. Drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. Curtis Granderson's home run was the first hit against Justin Verlander, but the Tigers lead 6-1 in the 8th. Braves got a grand slam from Tyler Flowers and lead Cincinnati 6-0 in the 5th. And the Angels lead the Orioles 4-3. The Angels and Twins tied for that 2nd wild card spot in the American League going into the day. Juan Nieves, the pitching coach, will head to the mound to talk to Espana.
Throw strikes.
Kyle Barraquah up in the bullpen.
Can't let this game, Mattingly cannot let this game slip away. The 5-run leads can be overcome.
Sunday, September 10th is a McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Reds at 1:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fidget spinner presented by PC Richard & Son. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Med Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sunday. Well, two guys who used to face each other in the Cuban National Series, Cespedes and Espana. Espana pitched for the Industriales, and Cespedes played for Granma in the Cuban National Series.
I find it interesting that Cuba's team nickname would be Industriales. What was it again?
Industriales.
Does that mean what I think it means?
I guess it means industrials. That would be my guess.
You wouldn't think that there would. I think there'd be more bucolic nicknames, like the Cigarros.
I'm not familiar with all the team names. Perhaps we need to get a list. Cespedes ahead 2-0, and he drives that one to left center field. Yelich comes over, slides, can't get it. He rolls behind him into the wall. Nimmo around third, he'll score. Going to third is Conforto, and pulling in at second is Cespedes. It's a double for Cespedes, a run batted in, his 2nd of the day, and it's now 6-2 Miami. Nice try by Yelich, but he couldn't quite come up with the sliding grab.
Boy, you got to. I think if you get there, you got to make that play.
Just hit off the side of his glove.
Yep, he was there. There's another play right there where he'd make that play 99 out of 100 times.
So Cespedes has dropped a fly ball and now been the beneficiary of Yelich not catching that drive.
Don't get caught doing back and forth.
So Cespedes gets the best of his old Cuban nemesis. He's got a run batted in with a double. Mets have crept a little closer at 6-2. Don Mattingly will make another pitching change and bring Kyle Barraclough out of the bullpen. Mets threatening for more in the bottom of the 8th, down 6-2. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Town for the first of 4, led by their MVP candidate Paul Goldschmidt, having another big year. 29 home runs, 96 RBIs, great defense, steals bases as well. Probably the most underrated player in all of baseball.
2 Gold Gloves as well.
Tomorrow night, Mets and Diamondbacks, 6 o'clock, right here on SNY. Well, Kyle Barraclough will try and clean up a mess for the Marlins. After Despaigne faced 4 batters, gave up 2 hits and a walk. Mets have a run in here in the 8th, down 6-2. Second and third, 1 out for Wilmer Flores. And Barraclough misses wide for ball 1. Barraclough pitched on Friday night, worked a 1-2, 3/8 inning. Marlins bullpen was great in that game. 4 scoreless innings, not so great last night or so far today. The breaking ball lifted to left, tagging at third is Conforto. Ozuna makes the grab. Conforto heads in, and the throw goes to third. So the sacrifice fly by Flores brings in the second run of the inning, and it's now 6-3 Miami. 4th run batted into the series for Flores, and his 42nd of the year.
Breaking ball just got out enough. Wilmer trying to hit that 3-run bomb, make it a 1-run ball game.
So now Travis d'Arnaud is 1 for 2 and a walk today. d'Arnaud 2 for 7 with a home run against Barraclough. Takes a slider inside for ball 1. There's a strike, 1-1. Coming up tonight at 10:30, Geico Sports Night. All the previews and reviews of all the football and baseball and Eclipse. Is that sports news?
Preparation?
But is that sports news?
What? I don't know.
How not to look into the sun? Protect your eyes, everybody. Should never look directly into the sun, whether it's a sunny day or whether it's an eclipse.
Even if it's overcast, I saw that. And also, do not take a photo of it without looking with your phone, your cell phone. It'll fritz out your phone. It's too much light. Too much overload. I heard that going in today. In my drive. My LinkedIn drive.
Be careful out there, people. 2-2 to Darno. Remember what they used to say on Hill Street Blues? Be careful out there, people.
No, it's Hill Street Blues a long time ago.
Two and 2 to Darno with Rosario on deck. Cespedes at second and 2 out. And Travis takes a slider inside, full count. Eric Law can walk the park at times. That's seen enough of him. 31 walks in 48 innings this year. Three-2 to Darno. Fastball fouled off.
Fairclough, big guy, fills out that uniform and that numerous numbers and letters on his back.
Off another fastball. Barraclough played at St. Mary's College. He's a Gale.
Oh, he's a Gale. I played. I used to watch St. Mary's. It's across the. Is it the Bay Bridge? I forget.
Moraga, California.
We're in East Bay. I actually played basketball on that court. In a high school invitational tournament.
Hit toward the hole. That's a base hit. Cespedes to third. He's going to be waved home. Ozuna's throw is well off the mark. Cespedes scores the third run of the inning. Darno with an RBI single, and now it's 6-4 Miami. Terrific time at bat for Darno. His second hit of the day.
Well done, Travis. Once it got to 3-2, we don't want to walk and let the tying run come to the plate. Well, he earned it, and now the Mets have a chance here.
And so the tying run will come to bat. Ozuna's got a very strong arm, but that was a dreadful throw. So now Rosario tying run at the plate. 1 for 3 today. It takes the fastball high, ball 1. They've had just 3 hits in 7 innings against Adam Conley. They have 3 hits and 3 runs against the Marlins bullpen here in the 8th. Rosario fouls it off.
Big rip.
Mask right off Realmuto.
A little more control in the swing. He just swung from his family there.
Time facing Barraclough.
Big.
Gets the slider over 1-2.
That could have gone either way there. That was a nasty breaking ball. It stayed over the middle, but watch this downward break. That's a little boy. That could have gone either way.
Now Rosario in a 1-2 hole. Darno at first with 2 out.
High fastball.
And he strikes him out to end the inning. Mets with a productive bottom of the 8th. They score 3 against the Marlins bullpen. They get a little bit closer. Now they'll try and keep Stanton in the yard as he gets set to lead off in the 9th. 6-4 Miami. Your best interest. Looks like A.J. Ramos may not get to face his former team in this series, but he was looking forward to facing Stanton, especially when he is hot. A.J. and Giancarlo are terrific friends.
Like he wrote a novella right there.
Well, Ramos hasn't got into a game in this series against his old mates. Mets have one more series with the Marlins down in Miami in September. Stanton hit the 3-run home run in the 7th inning. That broke this game open. Mets responded with 3 in the 8th, but still 2 runs shy. And Paul Sewald gets a slider in for a strike 1 and 2. Sewald worked in the opening game of the series Friday night. Worked a 1-2-3 inning. And it's grounded right at Rosario. And he throws out Stanton 1 away. So Ramos and Stanton have lived together at times. They also have traveled together. And some vacation photos.
Nice.
With A.J. Ramos and Giancarlo Stanton. This is in Egypt near the pyramids. That's pretty cool. Stanton in the desert. Christian Yelich takes a strike. Yelich is 3 for 4 today. And 2 infield hits, both of which drove in runs. And he singled to center. Then the last time up, he had a fly ball along the left field line that Cespedes dropped. And Yelich wound up scoring an unearned run. Sewald comes up and in. 1 and 2. Marcelo Zuna on deck. Changeup misses 2 and 2. Sewald, the 4th Met pitcher of the day. Yelich fouls it off. Josh Smoker allowed an unearned run in 2/3 of an inning. Eric Hill worked a 1, 2, 3, 8. 14 1/3 innings now for this Mets bullpen since they last allowed an earned run. And Yelich fouls off the slider. Rubber game of this 3-game series. The Marlins lead the season series 8-7 with another series to play. And Yelich fouls one. That'll come back out of play. After today, 40 games remaining. Quarter of the season to play.
Do you have all 40? You get a break?
Me?
Yeah. You don't go to Cincinnati.
I'm not going to go to Cincinnati.
So you have 3 days off.
And we have the Sunday night game in Washington.
So you have 4. Okay, good for you. You deserve it. You work hard.
That's pulled down to first. Dominic Smith handles it nicely. And Yelich retired 2 out.
Very nicely done. Stayed in front. That ball came up. Bad hop. Handled it beautiful. Like an old pro. Stayed in front. Very nice. 2 hands.
Just like old number 17.
Two-hand guy. I'm a stickler. Whenever you can. Don't want to be embarrassed.
2 out. Here's Ozuna, who had an RBI single his last time up, and he tops one foul. How many games do you have left?
I have 28, I said, Al. 28 left after this.
Do you know how many Al has?
No.
Or really?
I don't really care, to be honest with you.
Fastball strike, and it's 0-2 to Ozuna. Do you know anybody else's schedule?
I don't know what Ronnie's got going on. Ronnie's going to have postseason, you know that.
Well,
it's automatic for him.
and Ozuna strikes out on the slider by Sewald, who has himself a 1-2-3 top of the 9th. Mets got 3 in the 8th. They'll look for more. Down 2 runs as they come up in the bottom of the 9th. Fan hopes for a rally in the bottom of the ninth.
Very sweet.
As we're down 6-1, got 3 in the 8th. After we're done here, it's WB Mason postgame live. Jonas Schwartz, Nelson Figueroa will do the honors today. The interviews, the highlights, the comments, the analysis, all that stuff.
All of it.
Tyler Moore comes in to play first base for defense, and 37-year-old Brad Ziegler tries for his second save in the series. Dominic Smith will lead off in the last of the ninth, 0 for 3 today. Oh, that was against the lefty Adam Conley, who had his own way today. That's got 3 runs off the Marlins bullpen in the 8th. And now trying to get to Ziegler in the 9th. Ziegler pitched a 1-2-3 inning Friday night for his 5th save. He's taken over the closing duties since A.J. Ramos was traded to the Mets. Behind Smith, Cicchini, and the pitcher spot. Still have Asdrubal Cabrera available to pinch hit. Change up from Ziegler, and it's 1-2. Well, no bat in his hands. So Reynolds and Plawecki in the dugout, and Ziegler strikes out Smith for the first out in the ninth. Third time Dominic struck out today.
Well, the funkadelic motion, big leg kick up, almost like El Duque. But he comes by way of Detroit. Laredo.
Now it's Cicchini, who's 0 for 2 and a walk today. You would figure a side-arming right-hander would be far more difficult for the right-hand hitters. But the righties are hitting .354 against Ziegler this year, and the lefties only .273. And Cicchini promptly adds to that with a 1-out single, and the Mets will get the tying run to the plate. And it will be Cabrera to pinch hit.
Nice hitting by Gavin.
So here is Cabrera facing Ziegler. Tying run at the plate. Cabrera 1 for 4 against Ziegler in his career. Grounds one slowly. Gordon in to get it. The flip and the throw by Rojas for the double play that ends the game. 4-6-3 double play on the first pitch to Cabrera.